Welcome, my dear friends, and the peace of Jesus be with you. It's great to be with you on this 31st Sunday in Ordinary Time. And all of us set out into life with goals, ambitions, and the desire to succeed. Isn't that true? It's very true and very normal. This is a good thing. And this gives us a sense of purpose. This gives us a sense of achievement, and all of us need this sense of achievement. And to some of us, this thing comes very naturally and fast, and we get ahead of others. To many of us, this comes slowly, perhaps after a long struggle in life, and it takes many years of our young life to come to that point. But when that sense of purpose, that sense of achievement hits us, then there is no turning back. We set out on a path to do great things and succeed like success itself. But there also comes a time in our life of just continuing what we were doing, and it becomes a sort of routine. We reach a plateau in our life, as it were, and it becomes routine, it becomes normal, it becomes a sort of an everyday activity. It tapers off to just doing the things that we do for the sake of doing things, for nothing inspiring, nothing inspirational, nothing extraordinary, nothing outstanding happens in our life, because we have reached that sort of plateau in our life, and our inner spirit becomes so dull and sometimes even void. In fact, there begins to be a kind of restlessness that takes over, and for some of us, we begin to look for excitement in our life. We look elsewhere, and for excitement that we have been doing something but not so good in our life, and this excitement that is distracting us, and if it is not directed in the proper way and with a proper purpose, then we fall off the tracks and we destroy ourselves, which takes us away from all the joy that life should give us, and takes us away from the sense of fulfillment in our life. And this is the story of the gospel today, the 31st Sunday in Ordinary Time. It is the story of the turning point in the life of a man whose name was Zacchaeus. And I'd like to read the gospel of the Sunday today. So let's read what the gospel has to offer us. This is from Luke's Gospel, chapter 19, verses 1 to 10. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through it. A man was there named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. He was trying to see who Jesus was, but on account of the crowd, he could not, because he was short in stature. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree to see Jesus, because he was going to pass that way. When Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, hurry down, come down, for I must stay at your house today." So Zacchaeus hurried down and was happy to welcome Jesus. All who saw it began to grumble and said, "He has gone to be the guest of one who is a sinner." Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, half of my possessions I will now give to the poor. And if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I will pay back 4 times as much." Then Jesus said of him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because Zacchaeus too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek out and to save the lost." Here was Zacchaeus, who made a success of his life by being a tax collector. Now, what are the characteristics of a tax collector in those days? Number one, he was a Jew, but he worked for the conquerors of his country. the Romans. Secondly, working for the conquerors, he was hated. He was a hated man because he was on the side of the conquerors. And the local Jews and his own community didn't like that. He worked on contract for the Romans to collect the taxes from his own people, the Jews. Fourthly, his contract had no terms and conditions. He paid a lump sum of money to the Romans and purchased the right to charge his people a tax. And he would charge them more than what he paid in lump sum to the Romans. And this is how he became rich. 5, he separated himself from his community. He lived a very lonely life and away from the community, and he lived in luxury. 6, though he was successful, there was something missing in his life. He had all the wealth, but he was not who he wanted to be and who he should be. There was an inner restlessness in him. He was now searching for a deeper sense of life, a deeper meaning of life. And it so happened that Jesus was going through his village at that time. So what does Zacchaeus do? He follows the feeling of his heart. So let's read what happened. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through it. A man named Zacchaeus was there. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. He was trying to see who Jesus was, but on account of the crowd, he could not because he was short in stature. Here was this man who was restless. Jesus was passing by, and he followed the restlessness of his heart to see who Jesus was. He was not satisfied by letting Jesus pass by without seeing him. So what does he do? Again, the gospel says, he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree to see Jesus because he was going to pass by that side. But something happens to him when he is on that tree. What happens? When Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay with you at your house today. Wow! Is that a coincidence? Here is restlessness, the restlessness of Zacchaeus meeting with the invitation of Jesus. Now, what was Zacchaeus' response? Let's listen to what Zacchaeus responded to. So Zacchaeus hurried down and was happy to welcome Jesus. Wow! Here was the answer, the restlessness of his heart meeting the response of Jesus. But all who saw it began to grumble and said, he has gone to be the guest of one who is a sinner, because they knew who Zacchaeus was and they knew who Jesus was. So they just couldn't put the two together. And they were aghast at this meeting of Zacchaeus' restlessness and Jesus' eagerness to come and stay with him and be with him. Zacchaeus was happy to welcome Jesus. Here was the turning point of his life. He encounters Jesus, the Son of God, and his restlessness turns to joy. Jesus enters Zacchaeus' heart, and there is a change. And not only a change, there is a cleansing, there is a renewal, there's a turning point, there's a fulfillment of the yearning of his heart. He expresses his conversion by these words. Let's listen to these words of Zacchaeus, how he expresses his conversion. Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, look, half of my possessions, Lord, I will give to the poor. And if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I will pay them back 4 times as much Wow! Here is the deep conversion of Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus turns away from his focus of building wealth, living a selfish lifestyle, and now he gives up all that. He gives up all his profits that he has made all through his life and makes amends. And he makes space for Jesus in his life. What is Jesus' response? Let's listen to Jesus' response to the yearning of Zacchaeus' heart. Jesus says this, then Jesus said of Zacchaeus, today salvation has come to this house, because Zacchaeus too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek out and to save the lost. Wow. Zacchaeus now fills his heart with life from God. He fills his heart, he fills his life with the life of God. God who made Zacchaeus too a son of Abraham. Zacchaeus is a different man. Zacchaeus is a new man now. Zacchaeus discovers that there is more to life. Zacchaeus finds his real purpose and his real goal in life. He now knows that he too is a son of Abraham. He is made for God, and only God can fulfill him. He encounters God in Jesus Christ, and now he is on a new path of life. It took him a long time, as I said. For some people it is slow, but for some people it comes naturally. For Zacchaeus, it took him a long time. It took him a winding path. But he listened to the restlessness of his heart, and now he encounters God. Listening to this story, what's in it for us? What's in it for you? What's in it for me today, on this 31st Sunday in Ordinary Time? You have your goals. You have your challenges and successes. But listen to the undercurrent of the restlessness of your heart. Follow it and let it lead you to Jesus. You and I too need a turning point in our life. Let the example of Zacchaeus be your model and my model. We too are God's beloved children. And Jesus, who is God, has come to lead us into himself. As Jesus says in the final words to Zacchaeus, he says, the Son of Man has come to seek out and to save the lost. That's not only Zacchaeus, but that's you and I. Come then and meet Jesus, and let there be a turning point in your life.